Welcome to the Midwest Moguls Show, where we talk all things business, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Let's dive into today's episode and make business enjoyable again. Welcome back to the Midwest Moguls Show. We have Carl Huth here in the podcast studio with us today. Carl's experienced flipper, wholesaler, rental property investor. Cool. But Carl's going to intro himself, see what he's doing, what he's about. But Carl, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me here. Like Carter was saying, we flip, we wholesale, we have long-term rentals, we have Airbnbs.
Oh, sick. Okay.
In northern Wisconsin, so we kind of do it all.
Dang.
Yeah.
What are your? Because we've done a couple podcasts lately on the Airbnb topic. Do you manage the Airbnbs?
Yeah, okay. We self-manage, and they're up by St. Germain, so they're about 3 hours away.
Dang. So how has that been like for you guys? I know what our experience has been, but I'm always curious to hear.
So it's key player is the cleaner.
Yep.
And we have a rock star up there.
Okay.
And that's
huge.
Like really changed the game for us.
Yep.
And then we have some awesome systems and processes that automate 95% of it.
Yeah.
Even the locks.
You guys use like Hospitable or something like that? Or
Hostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar platform.
And we don't have too many up there. I think there's better platforms, but it works for what we need.
Yeah.
And honestly, we were looking at our numbers and the best year ever. And we've had that place for 6 years now, which is saying a lot.
Seriously?
We had it through 2020.
Yeah.
2021, which, that's when everybody was going up.
Holy crap.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of, I don't know. Ours is like mediocre. So I'm like, and that's where we just hired Tyler Cabot, or we're going to have him do it for us. Cause I'm like, between Joe and I, and or my dad or my mom or whatever, none of us really focus on it a ton.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just, like when there's no attention put into it, then it just underperforms or it's very mediocre.
Yep.
I'm like, as long as our net is approximately the same, that it's worth just having someone else do it.
Yeah. And Tyler, I mean, that guy, he that's what he lives and breathes. So.
I know. And I'm like, I don't have any like passion about that. Like I don't want to communicate with the guests. Like I see messages come into my phone from Airbnb and I'm like, I don't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
And it's people who have moved out. But so we were talking prior to the podcast starting, kind of on the marketing side, the wholesaling side, everything like that. So explain to Joe and I a little bit, and the listeners, viewers, like what the predominant focus is in your business right now. Are you looking at acquiring rentals, flips, wholesales, or what is that? Or all of the above? Or?
Yeah, I guess all the above, but we'd love to acquire more rentals.
Okay.
We've just been struggling to find deals that make sense from a rental standpoint. I'm very conservative with my numbers, probably too conservative, but
better safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So looking for rentals, but then the flip and the wholesale business is kind of the, keeps the cash coming in.
Correct.
So right now our business is about 80-20. We're doing 80% flips, 20% wholesales. We'd like to flip that around.
Okay. We came across that realization as well. I just think that, and kind of like what we were talking about, like the cash conversion cycle of flips, like when you're holding on to multiple that are just taking way longer than expected, you're like, holy crap. Like the account, even if you have rehab draws, like your accounts just keep going down and down. Then you're trying to fund marketing, and I'm like, what's the point of this? We're making money, but it doesn't feel like we're making money because we have so much money
going out at the same time.
I'm in a just kind of a lot of capital is stuck right now because we had a flip that we bought it in March. We stuck. Well, I was talking about it. I mean, I'll say numbers. We bought it for 70. We stuck 170 into it, and it's like we've had that money stuck for 6 months now, 7 months, 8 months. So, where that could be turning into different deals or more marketing or different things like that. And I know that I have other funds stuck in there from other deals because it was just kind of my flip file that now it's all used up. But once we sell it, it'll be fine and we'll get the money back. But that, like you said, the cash conversion cycle is just terrible on some of those. But there's a part of it where, you got your fast, your medium, your slow money, and you just try to balance that out a little bit more.
And do you think it's largely, I guess, contributed to the fact contractors are either slow or not finding contractors in time? Like, where's that, I guess, because obviously from March to now, that's a decent amount of time. So, and we have multiple properties in the same situation. So I'm just kind of curious if, like, you've kind of noticed, is it just finding the right contractors to get there on time and get the work done, or is it something else? Just kind of curious.
Well, this specific one, like, to be honest with you, I probably shouldn't have bought it, but we've all been there. And it's just kind of outside of the scope of, or like our sphere of people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we had to go through, calling plumbers, calling electricians, calling HVAC. And I think it's just tough right now with all contractors. They're so busy that if you don't have your core guys, and it's hard. I can't really blame them because it's like, well, here's this one-off guy that's giving me this one project.
Yep.
I'm not going to give them a ton of time a day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Where our local guys, they know we're just feeding them business. So they're quicker to respond, quicker to react. So I think the biggest thing was just finding contractors out there. And honestly having like a GC to just see the project through, like all the little stuff.
Yeah.
So I was running out there all the time doing
That's a pain.
Way too much work myself. Where if I could have had a reliable GC.
Correct. You can just fast track that.
Correct.
And it's like what we've been looking at least on our side. It's like, say a flip, and how we kind of determine, or how we've went into determining, okay, should we flip this? Should we wholesale it? Or whatever the case is how much are you making on a monthly basis once that flip sells? So like for yours, okay, you bought it for 70, stuck 175 into it. Say you end up making net like 50 grand, but after 9 months or 10 months, or even we'll say 12 months, it's like $6 grand a month. Yep. You're like, should I have done this? Should I have not have done it? Like that's kind of the thing that I'm like, and I think it's better to, if you can control the urge to buy something, it's like, hey, let's just pass on this one.
Yep.
Like it doesn't make sense or whatever. The numbers aren't lining up.
Yep.
Can we just move past this, find another one?
Yeah.
That's a little bit more profitable.
Yes.
Or
Absolutely.
easier.
Yeah. Easier.
Or closer.
And correct. Yeah, I know. It's all the above.
Yeah.
And I hate admitting it, but I think I got too in love with the things that came up, which was so dumb of me. Like I should know this by now, but like I got a truck, I got 2 cars, I got a boat. And it's like, but they were all shitty. Wow. And I mean, I still have the truck, but it's like, still, it was such a rookie move to be like, oh, these other things come with it and I should be able to make some profit. But now it's just,
no.
It happens. First done that. He got a camper out of.
I did. Hey, that actually
turned out really good.
Hey, you can. So we made that. That was actually pretty cool, and that was in Mount Morris area. But we bought we probably made like net profit like 10,000 or something like that. Maybe not even, maybe 9. But then I got a free camper, and the camper's sick.
Oh, it's actually nice.
Yeah. Oh, it's super nice. It's probably like
a renovation though to it as well.
Yeah. So. And but I'm like, the camper's probably a $16,000 camper.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, this is like, perfect. We just have it at so Joe's my brother-in-law, so it's up at their parents' property up in Tomahawk.
Okay.
And we just go up there and then sleep in there, and then I'm like, this is sweet. Yeah. Like, free, obviously, other than insurance on it, but super easy. But that's the thing, you get caught up in the all the other crap that comes with it. Like we just have loads and loads of stuff that you get once you start buying, and like, do you really need it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like my wife gives me crap all the time about the stuff I like. I have what do I have? I got a washer, a dryer, and a dishwasher in our garage right now. And it's like, why did these come home?
Exactly.
It's like, maybe exactly.
Yeah, just in case.
Put them in a rental.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you paying the storage unit costs.
Yeah. I think like a majority, not majority, but there's a decent amount of like furniture and things appliances that we both probably have from flips that we've gotten. And I mean, it's free. So
I know.
If it's a good condition, you might as well utilize it. But yeah, that's one thing I think kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier before coming up on here. But doing like a virtual wholesaling or something like that, you don't have that emotional attachment. You don't have like, you're not seeing those things and being like, oh,
it's all numbers.
Daddy needs a new truck. It's just numbers.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the hard thing when you do go in person. You're talking to these homeowners, you're hearing their life story and everything like that. Emotion does come up.
Yes.
And it's hard. I mean, we're all humans. It's hard not to be emotional.
Correct.
And just be like empathetic towards some people. It's like, okay, I would like to really help them out, but is it really a smart business move to do it?
Well, I've done plenty of those.
Yeah. I mean,
that's like you said, you should look at it. It all comes down to the numbers, but we're all human and try to help as many people as we can. So it's tough to
And then they're like, when they're in a desperate situation, maybe not desperate, but when they're in a situation that you're like, well, am I their only option? I don't. Yeah. It sounds like that. Like they're kind of putting all the chips on the table, but then we get put in a position and I've had deals like this, like we buy it from the owner, and I'm like, okay, yeah, we're helping them out, but then we're stuck with it, or then now we're stuck doing a remodel, and I'm like, we're not making anything. Like, why did we even agree to this?
Now it's cash coming out of your pocket, your family's pocket, because you were trying to help them out. Correct. It's like at the end of the day, it needs to be business.
Yep.
We want to help as many people as we can, but if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense.
It is. It's so difficult to balance all of that. But
yes,
what have been like? How long have you been in the real estate business?
So I bought my first property in 2010.
Okay.
Actually, just around the corner here.
Oh, really?
Elwood.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice area. Yeah.
Here.
Okay. Sweet.
So, but then I got stuck in a W-2 for 10 years.
You still own it?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Elwood.
Elmwood?
Like right
So it's just, you lived in Elmwood for a while.
Yeah.
Yep. So, that was my first time, but then I got into a W-2 for 10 years, which was good, but would have been a great time to be buying real estate. So I quit my W-2 3.5 years ago. So I've been full-time 3.5 years now.
Go ahead.
I was just curious, what, I guess Carl was probably going to bring this up, but like what made you, I guess, what clicked for you to make that switch from the W-2 to real estate?
Yeah, I'll tell the story. I mean, so it was, I always wanted to get into real estate full-time. So even those 10 years that I was at the W-2, I was buying and selling, but doing it all half-assed.
Correct.
And the whole goal was to get into it full-time. And then COVID hit and I was working from home. I knew I'd have to go back just because of the position that I had, but my boss called me and was like, and this was after 4 months of being, and we had our first son.
Okay.
So I got into a routine of like breakfast and lunch and just seeing him more often. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I get to see my little buddy all the time.
Yeah.
And then my boss called me and he's like, hey, we need you back tomorrow. And
dang.
And I knew I'd had to go back, but not like that.
Correct. Right. Urgent.
And so I went to the kitchen and I actually cried to my wife and I was like, I got to go back, and I really don't want to. And so then I was like, that was just kind of a sign from God, like, hey, this is where you truly.
That's crazy. I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah. So it was tough, man. Because my dad was around, is around a lot, but it was around a lot for when I was younger for sports and events. I was like, that's truly what matters.
Yeah. Right.
And I was also seeing like at my W-2 what my boss was doing and what his boss was doing. And I was like, is this a corporate ladder I want to climb? Like this, they're miserable.
What like field was it in?
Supply chain, operations management. So I was in different roles, purchasing, supply chain. I was the area manager for our parts and accessories plant. In Fond du Lac there, at Mercury Marine.
That's right. Nice. Joe's brother worked there for a long time. Yeah.
So, but that kind of gave me the push to get out. It's like, I truly know where I want to be going. I need to spend more time with my family. And so we just sold a couple rentals, saved up a bunch of money, and just made the leap. So
that's so cool. That's awesome. Kind of like we almost like I never I dropped out of college and then kind of got into real estate. So I didn't necessarily work for anyone other than like the brokers that I was for, but you almost have a skewed perspective because there's so many people, and we've heard numerous stories now doing the podcast of like people taking that leap of faith that, hey, hopefully things work out. Like ideally they're going to, and it's what was obviously it's a nerve-wracking experience. But what safety guards, like I know you said you sold some rental properties, but what safety guards did you have in place prior to being like, hey, honey, we're going full time into this? Like what was that?
Well, luckily my wife was 100% supportive, like the whole time. She's like, let's just do it.
That's awesome.
If you fail, you go get another W-2. So, but we needed a nest egg of money. So we had a year's worth of living expenses saved up.
That's cool.
And then we, and then while I was at my W-2, at it, but I was still working on the business. So I wanted to get systems and processes set up to be like, okay, now we're going to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, and we had some rentals at that time, but rentals is slow money in my opinion, and not, you got to have a lot of rentals to live off of.
Right.
So we needed to have that other machine, which was the flip and wholesale business, to support our living expenses.
I know. What learning lessons have you had so far when it comes to whether it's like I'm just thinking of all the ones that we've had, but when it comes to like marketing for the deals, like have you done multiple different marketing streams like when you first got into it? Was it just like throwing stuff out there? Yeah, I know. That's exactly like I think about ours and I'm like, my gosh, we've tried so many different things.
Yeah.
We've done
two now that
everything.
Typically work for us on a consistent basis. But what was that like? on your side?
Oh man, it was spray and pray. Like, all right, let's get into texting. Let's get into cold calling. Let's get into direct mail, PPC, all this stuff. And problem is that I wouldn't be consistent with it. And so then you're just like, all right, let's, try this for a month. Oh, that didn't work. And now let's go to the new thing. Shiny object syndrome for sure.
Oh yeah.
But then it's really what's worked now is we're kind of looking back at the KPIs and we're really trying to dial those in. That's our main focus right now and going into next year is like what's our cost per lead, what's our, cost per contract, different things like for sure. And where should we be putting money? Because it's very repeatable once you start looking at those numbers. But it's not very sexy.
It's terrible.
Especially in direct mail. We do a lot of direct mail. And that's not very sexy at all. So, but it's been consistently good for us. And so it's just like, all right, if we put X amount of marketing dollars out, we usually get
this much in return. Do you use like a CRM or anything like that to track things, or what do you?
So for like our front end CRM, we use Mojo. But that's kind of more for organization. And cold calling. And then for the back end, it's Resimply.
We just got the subscription. That's what, because we were using REI Sift for the longest time, and I'm like, this is just, it's inefficient. So then we just literally in the last 2 weeks,
I love it.
It's sick.
You guys are
so
like
you haven't necessarily spent a ton of time in there, but now I'm like pushing all the leads through there, at least on my side. And eventually like we're porting all the phone numbers right now and everything like that. But I'm like, this is going to be sick.
It's amazing.
It's insane how much technology. I'm like, oh, I don't know if they have this feature. I go in there and type in the search and I'm like, they have it already. I'm like, it's so cool. So I'll have to show you kind of the breakdown on some of the stuff, Joe, but
it's weird though. Like I geek out, and I know, I'm guessing both of you guys do when you sign up for a new software, has to deal with, real estate and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my God, it does this, it does that. Like, it's like a kid in a candy shop.
It's amazing.
It's amazing what technology can do for us. And just, there's so many different platforms out there to use. It's, just kind of doing some research, but when you do find something that has everything that you've been looking for, it makes a world of a difference.
Yes,
that's for
absolutely. Sure. And in like, especially now with some of the virtual employees and different things like that, how you can just implement and integrate all those people. It's crazy.
And it doesn't take that much more work. Like maybe you're doing some video recordings or whatever the case is, but I know it's like, I feel like we were doing, even in the last 6 months, is it starting the podcast really has kind of opened my eyes to the fact of like, we weren't, like we have a business, so to say, but it's not operating like a business. Like I'm like, it's just a big
right there. It's a big hobby.
Correct. And I'm like, it's insane how much work it's taking. And then you can't, like you go on a vacation. Are you really enjoying the vacation? You're thinking about some other stuff that's going on. And you're still able to spend time and not focus on things a ton. But I'm like, hey, if I'm gone or Joe's gone or whatever, like who's running on appointments? How are we doing this? Like, hey, I have to run on. I actually head out of town to Florida tomorrow. I'm like, I'm running an appointment tonight because Joe's going to a wedding tomorrow. I'm going to Florida. I'm like, no one else, like people on our team, I guess, could go there, take some photos or whatever. But I don't know. Still, it's just, there is inefficiencies that you try and mitigate if at all possible.
Right.
But have you thought of on your side bringing on, or what does the business look like right now? Is it just you and your wife in it and then some contractors and virtual employees, or what does that look like?
So my wife is not in it. I mean, she's kind of from the design side. She was in it a lot more, but now we have 3 kids and she's a super mama. So we got 3 kids.
Holy crap.
5 and under.
So that's a handful.
That is, oh my gosh.
And if I look tired, it's because I'm very tired. Because they don't let me sleep. But so right now it's me. I'm at like in the acquisitions, dispositions, project management.
Yeah, of course.
All the things. Then we have a lead manager that's virtual. We have some other virtual assistants for like data gathering and cold calling. So it's pretty small right now, but we're looking to bring on some more.
And that's when like I always got like even hiring Joe. Like that was extremely nerve-wracking. And then it's like we had nothing in place.
Nerve-wracking for me too.
Well,
I graduated.
Correct. You're taking like a
huge risk.
And it is. It's like, it's just like you don't know. And then, okay, like you get more comfortable with the fact of, okay, maybe the paydays aren't super consistent, or with commission or whatever the case is, the setup, it might not be as frequent, but then the amount of volume that you're able to do just bringing on one more person is insane. That's where, like, especially on the project management side, I hate that. I can't stand it. So the more that either of us can avoid doing that because it's not our strong spot.
Yeah, you don't like it, so you're going to avoid it.
And that's what have you found the most joy in so far? As far as like the business is concerned, is it meeting with owners or whatever
I kind of geek out on like systems and processes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
that's
is
very analytical.
Yeah. Very too analytical.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's our next hire. We're actually actively looking to bring on an acquisitions manager. Because we have a lead manager. She does a very good job, but the acquisitions manager just like going and making offers because I'm too analytical. So I'll overanalyze stuff where I don't even take action sometimes.
Yeah.
So is Joe.
Yeah. Not the acquisition.
Because I also care that people, like I care way too much about what other people think. So I'm going to offend this person with this offer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we're actively looking to bring on an acquisitions manager into the business just because I know I'm the bottleneck right now with that. Like I can look into RE Simply and be like, I have all these tasks to do. I'll do everything else to avoid calling people back, which is just silly because that's like the most important.
But still, it's to avoid that. Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, hate to say it, but I have a couple, I shouldn't say a couple, I have about like 10 to 20 like old like follow-ups, but they're also ones that maybe like I already know that
they're very long-term.
Yeah, it's very long-term or something else just happened. I just haven't like cleared it, but I'm like, I just don't want to take the time to do it. I know it could probably take me,
5 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah.
So it's silly, but
stupid.
I do that all the time. So, it's kind of like going back to what you were saying, like go with your strengths and hire out your weaknesses. So we're actively looking to bring on an acquisitions manager right now. And I think that could really grow our business because I really, we're taking it now. It's 3 years that we've been full time. It's kind of been a supersized hobby. It's like we need to take it to the next level and be a glorified business. And we've had a fantastic year, but if I can bring the right people on, we can just really blow it up.
Correct. And that's what it is. It's difficult. Like like business is like people make it seem so easy, and it's like, oh, hey, just do this or that, or then you're like, hey, there's the comfortability component, and obviously pushing on your comfort zone is important, but still, it's like this is huge. Like I'm once you make that hire, like you're taking their future into consideration as well. Everyone else who works 100%. For you, you're like, okay, if I don't keep these guys busy or do enough lead generation or whatever the case is, then like shit, like we're not making money. They're not making money. They can't afford to do things. We can't afford to do things.
Exactly. And so that was kind of, we needed to get to a point in the business where we're generating X amount of leads each week. So it's like, okay, we need to bring somebody on. I see I'm the bottleneck right now. Like we need to hire somebody. So, but it's nerve wracking, especially hiring. What I'm struggling a little bit is hiring for a position that I don't feel like I'm good at. So it's like, how am I going to bring somebody on if I'm not, in sales, if I'm not a huge sales guy? But they love that.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, so it's a limiting belief that I got to get over.
When it's easier said than done. I think in the grand scale of things, because I'm like, I know what I'm good at, and I enjoy like the sales process, that side of things. But then I enjoy also the marketing and advertising. Like if I could just do the marketing and advertising for the entire business, I'd be totally content. Like I wouldn't need to, I could still go out on appointments or whatever, because I get that high that comes with getting a deal, as we all probably do. But it's still the fact of, okay, well, what about the books? Like who's doing that? What systems and processes within the business, tracking like the KPIs and everything like that. And for the longest time, even right now, like our KPIs are shit. Like I know that, I know the general cost per deal, but it's not like it's down to a specific dollar. Like I give a pretty round figure when it comes to it, but still it's not like if you're looking to grow and expand in some way, shape or form, whether it's ideally profit, then you need to have the right processes in place, because otherwise it's just
100%.
I don't know, it's not sustainable for the long term. But have you had any huge learning lessons lately when it comes, well, maybe not even lately, but like horrible deals that have happened that, like, other than the one in Beaver Dam area, like it's that you're like, oh my gosh, like I've had some huge learning lessons that come from things. Anything that comes top of mind that you're like, hey, I probably shouldn't repeat that again?
Yeah, I mean, well, the Beaver Dam one definitely comes to mind. Then we also have one in La Crosse that we bought the exact same time that we did the Beaver Dam one, which was in March. So it's like, and it was just tough because, I have such a good network locally, we'll say. And so it makes it so much easier to like plug and play. Where we're like, all right, this is the deal we got, go tackle it. So it's just like, buying those deals where you don't have that network, where you have to develop those relationships, it's a lot tougher. So and I'm not against it by any means, because we're still going to make money on them, but it's just, you got to buy them a little differently or a little smarter, or get a better process in place for when you do. Like you really, with these deals, I should have been, or had somebody just like hammering these contractors, like trying to get people through. But if that's the project management that I was wearing that hat too. Yeah. So, but and don't fall in love with other things other than the numbers.
Yeah.
I know. We've had some. Actually, the appointment I'm going on tonight, that that house that we bought in Appleton, that huge one, this super large one that we lost a bunch of money on.
7.
So it's the guy's wife at her dad's house.
Oh, really?
So I'm just going to tell him like straight up. I'm like, yeah, we lost a crap ton of money on the last one. So I got to make it up.
Exactly. You got to give you a better.
I'm like, the price is going to come down substantially because of that. But no, it's like the weird houses.
Yes.
Like all of the weird houses, just they never they sell. But it's
there's always something.
There is.
Yeah, I feel like where we are, like in the Fox Valley and everything like that, unless it's a very expensive house, like just a nice little neighborhood that has that one house that's just very might have a like just some weird layout like that. Those are the houses that just don't sell fast, or there's only like 1 or 2 buyers that are really going to be interested in that. And that's one thing that, like you said, those ones, they're cool to work on, but boy, does it suck when it comes to listing.
Yeah. Correct. And there's always opportunity, but you just got to kind of factor that into your numbers as well. Because like I said, the one in Beaver Dam, it's an A-frame house on a slab. It has lake access, which is pretty cool. And it's got a big pull shed. But, an A-frame is a unique house.
Very, extremely unique.
And on a slab. So that's not very desirable either. So it's just factoring all those things in, and just don't get too in love with other things other than the numbers.
I know. And it's so hard to do. I don't know why that is. Why it, and other than the human component. Exactly. And it's like you have sympathy for like their situations and whatnot. But I'm like, is the more you can avoid that, even I always kind of go back and forth, and Joe and I talk about this. It's like, should we just give these people like a quote over the phone? Like say like, hey, this is a realistic range that we're going to be in. Are we in the ballpark? If we're not even going to schedule time to come out and look at it, because and maybe you come in a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher. I don't know necessarily the perfect formula, but at least they know what to
expect.
Correct. Yeah, you're setting those expectations ahead of time. So and we try to do that, but as working with sellers, there's like, well, where are you at? They're like, well, give us your number.
Correct. Yeah, I know exactly
the best price you can. And it's like, all right, but it might not be the right seller.
Yeah. So when you're running through numbers, do you have like a typical, like for a flip, are you like, hey, I want to make 25 grand or 30 grand or 35 or 40 or whatever? Like, do you have a typical profit margin that you're shooting for with flips or wholesales or something like that? Or what is kind of the breakdown there?
And it kind of depends on how much money we're putting into it. If it's a giant flip, we want to get more back.
Of course.
But we're going for at least, 25, 30 for a flip. Wholesale, we're probably around the 15 mark.
Yeah. So I think it's comparable. It's almost the exact same as our side.
And again, the ease of transaction. If it's like we just bought one down by Butler in Milwaukee where, it was, she just wanted to get rid of it. So we're buying it and we cleaned it out and we're relisting it. So
those are our favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
And so, we'll take less on that, because it should go pretty quickly and just the ease of the process.
And the potential of getting an offer even higher than what you're listing at. So
absolutely.
That happens quite often too. So it's kind of crazy how you're kind of looking at all the different avenues that you can go. You can either list it, you can either wholesale it or flip it.
Yep.
And I think like how you're saying, like sticking to the buy criteria and not getting into the emotional and everything like that. Yep. So that's, I think, the one thing that, I don't know, have you seen any sort of, what am I trying to say here? Like, have you seen it where it's easier to actually do a lot more wholesaling with the market today? Or is it still, I guess, advantageous for you to pick up all those flips, even the ones that are farther out? Have you started to kind of figure out, okay, maybe some of those farther out properties, it's a good deal. I'll just wholesale it, be done with it, make a little profit, and move on to the ones that are a little bit closer.
That's what we're trying to do. And that's why we're trying to like dial in our marketing a little bit to be within an hour radius of on like, or lacrosse, because we have some people out there that we can rely on. But yeah, I mean, it's tough for wholesale. We struggle with wholesale a little bit just because of the price point.
Yeah.
Because usually, you got to do whatever your equation is minus your fee.
Yeah.
Where if a flipper comes in there and they don't have a fee on there, then they're going to be more competitive to you or give them the work. So, and again, if it all depends on the project, where it's located and the scope of work.
Yeah.
So,
and have you ever had any like hesitancies when it comes to wholesale? Like, and I guess where this question stems from is like, I always thought, okay, we're telling these owners, at least in the beginning, I'm like, it's like you're not necessarily telling them the full truth. So you're like trying to cover up something that you're doing versus now it's pretty darn transparent as to what like our process is. But in the beginning or even right now, do you still have like even limiting beliefs on that side of like, hey, I can wholesale this?
Yeah.
And I do too. So that's where I'm like, it's
tough. And, we try to be as transparent as possible, but at the end of and there is value that we definitely bring. Like there was one that, we can close quickly as is, all the things, which is definitely value, speed and convenience that they're trading their equity for. And so that is definitely value to them. But then when you're wholesaling it for, $20,000,
correct,
$30,000 more, it feels tough. So we try to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're working with other people. This isn't a deal that we would buy.
Yeah.
That either A, it's too far away, B, we're too busy right now, which is all truths that we can tell them. But is it okay if I throw it out to another investor that we work with, and then you would get your price that we agreed upon, and then we would get that difference for bringing those people in. So and usually they're they don't ask questions, and we try to be as transparent as possible.
And that's what we've been going to more recently because I'm like, it's in like normally our process is we actually the wholesale prices that we provide are actually higher than the cash offer of us actually closing on it. So like our cash offer, we just come in probably at least 5% below what the wholesale price is. So I'm like, well, I'll run our numbers, and we're generally fairly conservative on ARBs and rehab amounts and everything like that, just from the experience. But say a place is worth $225 fixed up, maybe our cash price is $110. The wholesale price might be like $117 or $116 or whatever. But with that, it's like, hey, we are partnering. It's a partner option. So we're partnering with other investors. We're going to need reasonable access to the place. We're going to end up working with another one on the property and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they have questions. They're like, well, what about this or that? But even the wholesale price that we offer, and what I've told Joe is like, we'll still close on it at that price. But if we get it for the cash price, then it's just an even better deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's like, I always worry about contracting in place, and we've done it in the past of like you contract it for too much, then you end up having to renegotiate it back out or anything. Have you had experiences having to do that, or
no?
Always close?
But I'm too conservative on my numbers.
Okay.
And so we close on 95% of our deals, which sounds good, but probably isn't good because then we're not taking enough swings. But I just don't want to leave because this is typically people's biggest asset of their life and most money that they'll ever see. So you don't want to get them under contract with the false belief that you're going to close, and then you string them along for a month or two, and they're making arrangements. In their mind, they already have that money spent that they're going to make.
Correct. Right.
And so then you come back and be like, this just didn't work out. See you later. I just can't lead like that.
I know and I feel terrible. Every time, like my gut is normally like turning, like when you have to make that call and you're like,
absolutely,
oh, this is terrible.
And we just had actually one down in Waukesha where we had to do that. And, and I was very transparent with them because I missed it, but it was a giant miss, but it was the septic, and it wasn't failing, but it was like a
darn near.
Darn near. So they came and inspected it and said, it's not failing, but it's like a car with 300,000 miles. So I went to the guy and I'm like, I missed this. Like this was on me, and it was a $30,000, miss. And so and I was very transparent with him. I was like, I missed this. I apologize. But we can't really do the deal, and you can keep all my earnest money. And because I did not keep up my end of the bargain, but we'll need a $30,000 price reduction. Luckily, he was making, I think, $215,000 deal. So there was room for margin to move. So we were able to work that out. But I hate renegotiating.
Oh, it's terrible.
And I hear guys that,
That's their business.
To each their own. Yeah, to each their own, I guess. But if you're locking up contracts with the intent of going back to renegotiating, like that's not a very honest way of doing business.
I don't like that. And I mean, we've been kind of in a situation where we make an offer and then these other companies come in, do the same thing. It's a little bit higher, but I know for a fact that they're going to be coming back. And usually I get a call, later on, hey, now they're wanting to cut down the cost and everything like that. It's like, well, I mean, there's a lot of people that do that, and homeowners hate when that happens.
Correct. Well, anyone hates when that happens. It doesn't.
I mean, it doesn't matter. But that's I think it's a
terrible business.
Terrible business.
And there's time to do it, but if you can justify like why you are doing it, I think there's, you can do that. But if that's your business model to go in and just renegotiate for sure, like you're like, no, I'm going to lock it up so I have control of it, and I have these people where I want them. But then you're just planning on renegotiating.
Correct. It's like you're just it's I think it's so deceptive. Yes. I just like the morally right or wrong thing to do. I don't agree with it by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't like obviously people make a lot of money doing it. So, but is the money necessarily worth the tarnished reputation? In my opinion, I think you can definitely avoid that just by being transparent. And it's like from our side, like we have a ton of Google reviews, and like getting to the point of having people willing to leave a review. Like if they have a terrible experience, they're not going to leave you a review. No. And I make sure that it's like, okay, we're communicating well, we're doing things properly, so they have a great experience. Because realistically, their life has not been
the best
up until this point. So can we somehow improve it in some way, shape, or form? And I think
you guys are leading with integrity. And that's so important.
It's I don't know. It's just eye opening to me. But I guess on the and we can kind of take this conversation wherever, Joe, if you had anything top of mind, but like going forward for you guys, are you just going to double down on direct mail to increase things, or what is the kind of the game plan going forward if you have one?
So for next year, we're definitely going to double down on direct mail, working on kind of where we're grabbing our data from. Just make sure that we got the right data. So direct mail, we are going to continue to do some cold calling just because it's a very affordable outreach for us. We're already grabbing the data, we're already skip tracing it, things like that. So one might as well. We do want to get into some PPL and PPC some more. Because I think that's the way that a lot of people are going, and everybody's on the internet. So why not? But direct mail just seems to be just tried and true, reliable. It's just you can mail wherever you want. And,
correct.
If they're responding to you, it's usually a better lead, anyways. So it takes less leads to convert to a contract. So we're going to definitely double down on direct mail, and I need to bring people in to grow the business. And like complement our business where I am weak.
Have you thought about like, because obviously the Milwaukee market is really, really strong. Have you thought about just like say, and obviously Oshkosh and Appleton and everything isn't far away from you, but have you thought about doing more marketing down there just because the mass amount of homeowners?
That's because we found we struggle a little bit so we're in Fond du Lac and we market typically like an hour radius of that. But Green Bay's an hour away, Milwaukee's an hour away, Madison's an hour away. So, but we find it difficult to find enough leads to even market to like within Fond du Lac.
Correct.
So we're trying to figure that out, and we'll go out to Sheboygan and things like that. But we've done a number of deals down by the Milwaukee Metro, and we definitely like it because of
I know, and that's points. I just like and this is something that, and it might be valuable, it might not be, but like our site right now ranks fairly well for SEO. Like we're in the top searches, pretty much everywhere. But so I just hired a new SEO guy, and he's like, I'm almost shocked that you're not getting like we hardly get any leads on that side. Like maybe his other clients are probably getting 3 to 10 a week. We're getting maybe 1, maybe 2, and I'm like in Appleton, Green Bay, Oshkosh, Fond du Lac, wherever we're up there, and he's like, I think we need to implement a new strategy. So we're gonna start focusing on the Milwaukee area and Madison area because like the population is there. Like your ideal motivated seller is most likely down there, and you're going to get a lot larger bang for your buck. I'm like, let's go with it because it's otherwise you're throwing money out the door, and I'm like, and we've spent so much on again the different things. I'm like, hey, this is going to be a huge thing for our business. and then it, like, you might get a deal or two every now and again, but still, it's like you want consistency.
Correct.
And right now, it's just not giving us consistency. And that's where I think can you do a lot of business in a small area? Of course. Like, we had a guy in last week who all of his rental portfolio is here in Oshkosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think you limit yourself if you're just looking to stay hyper local.
Correct.
And I think we can,
unless you live in Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
it makes sense. And I
If
think
you're in a bigger metro,
correct.
there's a lot of competition around Fox Valley area, Green Bay area. And not to say that there's still a lot of, competition in Milwaukee too, but, it does make a difference when you have, I don't know, 5 or so like investors all trying to market to this one house. And I mean, you're just kind of hoping that they pick your mailer up and call you first or give you the first shot at it. So I don't know. I think, like you said, having a broader, I guess, location of where you're actually marketing to and actually hitting the big high populated areas is going to make a huge difference.
And you know your systems and processes too. Like, you're the guys that always answer your phone, get back to them as fast. Speed to lead is so important in this business.
Crazy.
Because there is a ton of competition. There's a lot of new people coming in, which is great. But it's so they're getting 30 mailers.
I know.
on their property. So you got to stand out somehow. And I think customer service is the best way to do that.
Exactly. And it's what I think. Like, even with the deals that we've done down in Milwaukee or Madison area or anywhere in the broader spectrum, it's like the people, they reached out to us. There's dozens of other options. There's hundreds of other options.
Yep.
It's like, why? There's the company component that's like, hey, this is a company that has a track record. They have it seems like a lot of good information, resources. I know that they're local, whatever the case is. But I think the limiting belief is in all of our minds of like, why can't we just do that? Like, why can't we be like these other businesses and go all over the place? Because first off, our operation is probably better. We probably treat the people better than most of the other investors. That's a very broad statement when I'm saying that. But I just think it's always the mindset component of, hey, like, we can do this, but you actually have to do it. Like, you have to go on the appointments or make the offers or whatever the case is and be realistic with the numbers. And I just think so many investors, they get that first call from a homeowner or whatever, and the homeowner tells them that they want full market price, but it has all the other signs of a motivated seller.
Correct. Yep.
And they never go on the appointment. It's like, or they never even make an offer. I'm like, what's going on? Like, the people have owned it for 30 some years. They haven't updated in 30 some years. They own it free and clear. I'm like,
and they're typically calling you. There is a reason. You just gotta pull that out and see how you can help them.
And no one wants to take pennies on the dollar for the price.
No.
Like, if someone asks, like, they're just going to shoot out a number and then see if you're going to go for it. But that's where, when, like, your scripts, when you're talking to these homeowners and dealing with things, are you always, like, are you trying to, in every single scenario, pull price out of them? Or how is, like, say, walk us through a typical call. Like, if Joe would call in with a property to sell, how does that normally work? Because I think this might be valuable for people listening.
What we found is just, being so personable and just, if I'm on the phone with somebody, so there's the 4 pillars of qualification, so that you want to try to pull out of them. And price is one of it, but it's like just talking with them as a human, because again, this is one of their biggest financial, just one of their biggest financial decisions that they'll have in their life. So you just want to be very personable with them and try to figure out what their problems are and how you can solve them. And so, we're trying to pull out the pillars through the conversation, but it's just we try to keep it very fluid. Like, we don't want to be like, all right, punch list item number 1. Like,
Exactly.
That's how we all started.
What condition is it? It's like, and you need to find that information because you got to make sure that you're a good fit for them, but it's just trying to be as personable as possible and just trying to help them out.
And I just think, like, say someone has like, they're mailing whatever in a huge radius, but then they have a call answering service. And they might not be local. And then the call answering service is just going through this script, punch item by punch.
Question after question after question. It's
and then the homeowner is like, this is just, like, it sounds like more of an interrogation than a conversation. So I think even like that small thing in and of itself, answering the calls, like answering your lead calls or having someone in the business do it, like, that's essential. Or hiring the right company to do that for you. But
because we have an answering service right now, but we have our call flow, so they are the absolute last person to be answering, because again, that's their job, is to kind of, then they just kind of go through the bulk
Correct.
points.
Yeah.
And I think in kind of like what we were talking about, the markets that we're mostly in, it's like, if you're robotic or have a foreign accent, you get turned off quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, with our call flows, we try to have that be the last one, but we still want to try to pick up, of course, 100% of the calls.
Yeah. I know it's tough, and that's where whether it routes to Joe or myself or vice versa. Like you always try to answer because it's like, hey, that could be a $20,000 deal, or whatever the case is, or they could be calling to cuss you out.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And that's why I'm usually the last one on those initial calls, because that would affect me a ton.
Yeah,
like F you, take me off your list, ambulance chaser, all the names. And it's like, sorry, like we're not here to we're trying to help you, but obviously we can't help you.
Well, and I've been looking into something recently, and I don't know if you so I like I said, I like the marketing and advertising side of things, and like there's Dan Kennedy, who he's a phenomenal marketer, but he has like this magnetic marketing principle. So you're providing these individuals, potential leads, with upfront information that they can gain or download or read over, or so on and so forth. So my thought is, even on like the probate side of things, when it's it could be very, very personal.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, instead of saying, hey, do you want to sell your house or whatever the case is, which everyone else is doing, couldn't you send them something like, hey, I know whatever, you might be going through some sort of situation or scenario. If you want some free resources, like all we need is your name and email. We'll email them over to you, whatever the case is. You can download them for free. Just go to this website. And then there's no, like, it's not a huge ask. Like, I think asking someone to call us as a home buyer, like going from owning a house to selling a house and like bridging this huge gap in between is extremely complicated.
Very.
And we simplify it. It's like, hey, just mail these people or whatever. They still have questions. Like if you're not answering the question that's going on in their mind or entering the conversation that's going on in their mind, they're probably not going to do anything. They're going to be petrified.
Confused mind says no every time. So
right.
If they don't know what steps are next.
No, exactly.
They're not going to do anything.
Yeah. And that's where my side, I'm like, okay, how can we build out this process?
Yeah.
Of whether it's just even email and phone or email and name to get access to a video series that we put together on like 4 videos of like, here, walking you through the steps. And then they trust you as a expert of some sort. And then it's like, hey, I'm going to call Carter and Joe because it seems like they can help us, or I'm going to call Carl or whatever the case is, because Carl seems like he knows everything about probate houses.
Yep.
And just being that go-to resource. And I know like some real estate agents do a phenomenal job of that. Most of them do a terrible job.
Yes.
And the like, even on what I found with the podcast, with YouTube videos, everything like that, I've built some of the best relationships that I have today from people like watching a YouTube video. Never talked to them before. They're in Wisconsin. They watch YouTube for whatever, a year or a few months. Then they reach out, shoot me a message or something like that. They're like, hey, I appreciate you watching. I like it. Don't have that many subscribers, but regardless, it's like you build these relationships through that.
Yes.
And they seem like they know you on a personal level. You might not have had a conversation, but if you're the same that you are on video as you are in person,
yeah, absolutely.
I just think it caters to that relationship even more. So,
and you're the subject matter expert in their eyes.
Correct.
Like this guy has tons of YouTube. He knows what he's talking about. Like he will treat us well. And then you back it up with, because you guys have amazing Google reviews and things like that. So it's like you guys are just kind of stacking that reliability. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, and that's where, like, with that in my mind, I'm like, okay, what would stop us then from going into whatever marketplace in Wisconsin? I'm like, no, ourselves.
Yeah,
ourselves.
Your limiting belief.
Main issue. But I don't know. Regardless, Joe, anything else that you wanted to? Any questions you have for us?
Yeah,
that's what I was about to.
What's your 2025? I guess what's your biggest hurdles right now? Biggest bottlenecks, and then what are you guys looking to do in the coming year?
Myself. Mine is definitely myself, but
in what way?
Just not trying to do everything myself.
Yep.
Like realistically, because I've been getting a lot better at it, and hiring the right people and putting the right people in the right spots, or delegating, or giving more responsibility out, and not having to necessarily, like, still watching over things, but not necessarily having to control it. So it is, and that's been my biggest bottleneck. But otherwise, it's just like we kind of have our marketing and lead flow down to a somewhat consistent base. Like it's pretty darn consistent. Increasing that, expanding outward, and honestly just increasing the profitability of the company is by not necessarily having to do more deals, but just do higher margin deals, whether that means going elsewhere or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And trying to take more off our plate. But that's kind of the focus for 2025. Not necessarily on a numbers base, but higher profit margins.
Yeah.
Is kind of the goal. But Joe, what about for yourself?
Kind of add to that. I would say also just kind of like Carter was saying, delegating a lot of stuff. I think I would like to see going into or throughout like 2025, actually getting a lot of people to take a lot of the responsibilities that like the acquisition stuff, actually hiring people, whether it's in-house or VAs or whatever, and testing that out, because I mean we've only done so much where we've kind of delegated, here and there, but I think there's still a lot that we can do and try and get away from like that job aspect.
Yep.
And I think what's going to help scale, I guess, our business probably the most is going to be actually looking through the lens of a CEO.
Yeah.
Looking at, okay, everything set aside, all these other little things go on the walkthroughs and this and that.
Yeah.
Like, what are the biggest things that are going to actually move the needle forward, move the company the right way? And like Carter was saying, I mean, the biggest thing too right now is also cutting out all those expenses that are just eating up all our profits. So I think we love kind of the winter time to be able to take that slower time,
so much focus,
downtime, where we can just get kind of dig deep into all the numbers and see, okay, we spent a lot of money here. This is what we made profit wise, and doing all that. That's the biggest thing. But also, I think the other thing would be buying some more commercial properties. I think that's cool. Something we really are looking further into. It's a different animal, but at the same time, it's similar processes. It's just at a different scale.
Yep. Just more money.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's,
which is it.
And it's, I think the ability I would like to get a little bit more familiar with like raising capital side, because I think that pushes into a lot of other opportunities that you can introduce. So because it just depends, but there's always like, okay, what can I focus on now to push the needle and not get so distracted with everything else. So just taking it a week at a time or a couple days at a time.
What do you guys' take, I guess, on that? And we don't have to go too into it, but the rental market, commercial market, things like, and I guess I don't know what you mean exactly by commercial, because there's a lot of different avenues.
I guess.
But I guess what are your, because back in we'll say 2020, rates were low,
correct,
prices were high, tons of stuff were moving, and now then the last few years it seems like sellers' expectations were they still wanted the prices when the rates
it's crazy.
Rates were low, but now the rates are high. Now people, I think, might get in some trouble with adjustable rate mortgages that they got into a few years ago, and those are. So I guess, what are you guys? How are you going to attack that or go after that?
So a lot of the because we have a few different storage complexes. We're buying one next week, but if we're getting commercial financing on it, it has to pencil out. Like it's a conservative. We're running things conservatively, whether we can up the rent a significant amount or whatever. And we've lost out on like deals because people are willing to break even. And I'm like, we can't do that. Like it's not financially even in the picture. So we're looking at more properties on that side. And I kind of took the foot off the gas on the commercial side probably over the last 9 months, just because I've been really honing down on the wholesaling investing or wholesaling flipping side. And if there's an opportunity for seller financing, that's pretty much. And I always tell my friend, like a couple of my buddies they've been buying some apartment units and whatnot, getting financing on them, so on and so forth. I'm like, I don't really have interest in that unless it's seller financing, and unless it's good terms on seller financing versus if I have to put 20% down and pay 6.5% interest on.
Just want to go to a bank.
Exactly. I'm like, it's easier doing that. We're bankable, and we can go from there. So it has to make sense. But as far as we have some storage units, storage units are fine. I don't enjoy chasing people for $60, $70 a month. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But commercial, like triple net, it is kind of like, whether it's industrial buildings or strip mall centers or whatever the case is, that's kind of I could foresee us going that route.
Awesome.
Because I think what we had talked before is I enjoy the process of working business to business, where you're basically the renter is someone that owns their own business, whether it's electrical company or just someone that does wholesaling too, and they just need an office or something like that, or storage units. So, I mean, the biggest thing for me is I'd like to find those triple net properties.
Yeah.
I think that's what is going to be more sustainable in the long run, and a lot less headaches. For us, and a lot less, I guess, management.
And then your focus can be used elsewhere.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's even if you're paying a premium. Like I honestly don't even mind paying a market value for the place. Like as long as it's not a huge headache.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I've been going.
Cash flows.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. And makes sense financially, but like price is price, and eventually if we hold them for a long term, they're going to be worth more at that point. But I don't know. That's kind of the thoughts, but I'll wrap it there. We've been going for a little over an hour, if you can believe it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. So appreciate you guys watching as always. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.